When I left Perth about 5 weeks ago, the fencing had gone up on Eric Street uh, around the construction sites for the new shed path. So, how have things progressed in the 5 weeks since that fencing went up? Well, there's been more letters to the paper complaining about how it's going to be a waste of money and it's a bad design and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, nothing's changed at the Subiaco Post. We'll see if they keep on bagging it once it's actually built. And of course, that letter writer said, why don't we use Grant Street? Well, I actually went and had a look at Grant Street back in October and did a video on it. And you can watch that if you like and make up your own mind. But of course, it didn't take long before there were more complaints in the paper about tree roots being hit. Well, I got to tell you, we just had a plumber in. It cost a small fortune to get a sewage pipe replaced because it got tree roots into it. And I wonder if how those residents would feel if that eucalyptus tree got its roots into their sewage system and blocked it, and they had poo coming up through the drains in the floor. I reckon they'd be out there cutting the tree down before you could say boo. But, for bike path affects tree roots, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Now, this is where I guess construction started, and it's probably the most advanced. They've got the concrete, what do you call it, edges down along there, and I guess it's just waiting for the concrete top to go on that section. From here, it does look a little bit narrow, but I think the perspective is probably a little bit misleading. But you can see, they've put down the usual crushed limestone there and rolled it, and we'll see more of that crushed limestone as we go up the hill here. Now the path does wiggle its way through the trees. They were quite careful to not knock down any trees as part of this, and I guess that'll hopefully make it shady in summer. Now to make it a little bit easier to get onto this section of road, they've built this, I guess, dog leg here, and again we can just see what the construction looks like. So we can just, once this is finished, you'll just be able to ride straight across the road, and rather than doing the dog leg I did. I mean, you might say, well, that little dog leg's a bit of a waste of space because it's not that hard to just ride out onto the road and round the corner and get onto this. Because this is a very quiet street, and they're not putting a path next to it. They're just using this street as part of the route because it gets barely any cars on it. But look, if they didn't put that dog leg in, I'm sure some people would complain. Now, when we get to the top of the hill here, again, there's another separated shed path here because you can see it's left turn only at the top of the hill. Now, after that kerfuffle about the tree roots, I am a bit concerned about how close these trees are to the edge of the path, and I wonder if in some years' time we'll see that the path is starting to get a bit misshapen because the tree roots are pushing it up. I guess only time will tell, but from this angle you can see just how wide the path is, and what it's like with that crushed limestone once it's been rolled a few times. Now it'll be a ramp there, I guess, take you through the cut through in the island. I don't know if they're widening the island. I haven't looked at the plans, and obviously there's no ramp built on the other side of the road yet, but you can see where they've put down the stakes to take the path through that boggy area. Now, because it was boggy, I went around it. Didn't want to risk getting, stuck in the dirt there. But again, it just shows you, I guess, how wide the path is going through here and how they've meandered it around the trees. And, notice all the parked cars over there on the right. I guess there'll be some people complaining about this because they've lost their free off-street parking to a shared path. I mean, how terrible is it that, parking gets removed and, clean green infrastructure gets installed. Now, I decided to ride along the path here since it was Saturday and there was no one around, no one working on it. And this looked like fairly freshly laid crushed limestone. It was pretty sketchy, so I was taking it easy. This layer hadn't been rolled. From what I've seen from the construction of other shared paths, they dig a fairly deep foundation, put down a layer of this stuff, roll it, put down some more, roll it, put down some more, roll it. And it ends up being a very, very firm base. Now here, this is interesting how they send you way off to the left here, and I presume there'll be some new ramps here to get you across this intersection. And it'll be interesting to see how that works once it's completed. We shall see. Here, obviously, all I've done is put down some pegs showing where the path is going to go. No, it's not going to go through the trees here. I was just avoiding those little blue flags there because I didn't know whether there was any string or rope between them that I didn't want to run over. The resident there was quite upset because although this is council land, they'd actually installed reticulation on it. I guess they love their grass and using a lot of water, and had put some flags out to stop people parking on that section and potentially smashing the irrigation. Now, before we go back and have a look, I'll just sort of put this letter up, which is quite interesting, talking about how people in the area voted in a Teal member, yet they are absolutely fixated on driving their kids to school in great big four-wheel drives. And as we've seen, some of them are quite upset at the idea of putting in bike infrastructure to give people an alternative to driving around the place in a great big four-wheel drive. So, yeah, if you want to vote in a Teal, I guess the thing is put your money where your mouth is. And, if you want to vote green or Teal or, vote for climate change, then you should be changing your behaviour to, make this possible. And I guess certainly not complaining about putting in cycling infrastructure, which is designed to do this kind of stuff. So just a interesting behavioural thing. I think we need to remember that people can be intensely hypocritical when it comes to this thing. Yeah, essentially they're voting, I guess, for the impacts of climate change legislation to land on other people and not themselves. So they can carry on with their lifestyle and other people will have to change. Anyway, let's ride back along the route, and you can see, off on the right there's the pegs. I don't know what happened to the pegs on the left. I mean, there are some there, but I don't know if they just never put them in or someone pulled them out. And I rode through the little blue flags there after I realised that there was no danger of running over a cable or something that had been put there to keep parked cars off that section. So yeah, going back across here, as you can see, you've got to go well out to then get back onto the path. Like I said, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, but why have they done that? I guess because they wanted to reduce conflict between drivers maybe turning into that street and providing a little bit of space. I'm not sure. It'd be good if they put some like a traffic calming or a speed hump, I guess, on that corner, so that when drivers turn off this main road, they have to slow down. So if the cyclist crossing the road, it reduces the risk of a collision. Like I said, this was pretty sketchy going down here. You can see in the middle how it's just kind of rough, raw, crushed limestone that, I guess they've just run the dump truck down here and put down a layer and then, haven't done much more with it. Around the boggy zone, and, I guess it will be nice just cutting across there. That'll be quite good. And like I said, look at all the parked cars here on the lawn. People go on and on and on about, our beautiful verges, and then they wreck them parking cars on them. So this bit has been rolled, and it was very, very smooth, very strong, but because there was a fence there at the end, I couldn't go all the way down there. And yep, okay, we get back on the quiet street. And again, because the fence is at the far end here, I couldn't go through that last remaining section. Just went back on the road and, off I went. So anyway, there you go, 5 weeks. That's pretty good progress, I think. I mean, you look at how long it takes to get things done in Canada Bay and how well this is going. It's quite amazing. It'd be interesting to see when they get around to laying the concrete on those first sections. I don't know if I'll be here for it, but I'll be back next year, and I'll hopefully by then it'll be finished. So yeah, even against all the opposition from local residents and all the rest of it, you can see it's charging ahead.